we need to talk about how this societal pressure for women to have kids, regardless of how they feel, is creating an epidemic of severe depression and postnatal depression amongst so many women worldwide. What is up, people? Welcome back or to another video. For those of you who are new around here, welcome. I'm Jade, the Childfree PT, and I'm super grateful to have you come and join us. So I wanted to get straight into this. I was scrolling through Facebook a few weeks back and I found this story which had been shared from, I believe it was Reddit, but it had been shared onto TikTok. Now, I unfortunately can't find the original link. I would have linked it down below. If anyone can find it and put it in the comment section, I would be truly grateful. So apologies for that first and foremost. But let's talk about how society is constantly selling this dream of motherhood to so many women. In fact, it's not even just selling a dream, it's just all conditioning, like all around us. All the adverts you watch on TV, all the adverts that you see in shop windows, everything is kind of catered towards this is what your life should look like, this is what's gonna make you happy, this is what's gonna make you successful. And people fall into this trap time and time again. Now, for some people, motherhood is a dream, in which case, that's great. However, let's talk about how it is not a dream for everyone. And for those people who aren't sure about it, or they're pretty sure they're not gonna have kids, but they're not quite 100% decided on a no, that kind of little percentage of them, which is like an open door, people just jump on it. Like people just jump on you like a leech, trying to get you to push, and oh, you have to do what I'm doing, you're gonna miss out, and it's so selfish, and it's not good for society, and we're gonna die out, as if we're gonna fucking die out. There's 8 billion of us. And I was just thinking, if you were booking a holiday, and you were looking online and you were like, oh my God, this resort is amazing, it's 5-star, you look at the destination, you look at the weather, you look at the restaurants, and then you get there, and it's like a fucking shack in the middle of nowhere with no running water, no electricity. You let me know how you would feel. You would feel scammed. In fact, that is a scam. And this is exactly the kind of situation that so many women end up in, because they've been told by society and by friends and by family that, oh, it's different when they're yours, and they buy it, they go into it, and they end up hella depressed because they're like, well, where the fuck are these feelings? Where the fuck are these emotions that I'm meant to be feeling? And this just brings me on to this article that I found, and I was reading through it and I was like, you have got to be effing kidding me. So my wife and I met when she was 22. We hit it off and we're married within a year. She was always child-free and told me that from the start. I figured she was just young and free and eventually she would settle down like every other woman out there. That was your first fucking mistake. Well, eventually it started looking like she was actually serious and she wanted to get her tubes removed. This really bothered me, and I told her I think I'd be upset if she did it. Eventually, I managed to get her to agree to have one kid. So we started trying right away, but she still wanted to get her tubes removed immediately after. We got pregnant fast. It was incredible. Everything went smoothly during the pregnancy, and my wife gave birth to our son. Now, can we just talk about how this man thought that he was like in charge of this female's body? Now, old me would have been like, well, she's fucking stupid, she shouldn't have made that choice. However, I actually feel quite sorry for her because she was obviously pressured and pushed and manipulated, and he was constantly on her back about it all the fucking time, that she must have just caved and was like, all right, I'm gonna have this kid just so you can shut the fuck up. And there's literally nothing more kind of disturbing and deeply worrying about this kind of behavior here, which they're not the only two who this is happening to. This is happening all over the place, where people are just popping them out because they're like, if it's gonna keep people off my back, I might as well just do it just to see what all the crack is about. That is not how you bring another life into this world. That is a lot of pressure on another human being. And the part of this part here just made me realize, like, men never have the same kind of pressure on them than a female, ever. Like, a man isn't going to be looked at by society the same as a female does with kids. There is never going to be the same amount of pressure on a man to be like the perfect dad with like the perfect career and the perfect car, whereas a society will look at a woman and be like, oh, you don't have it all. You don't have the career, you don't have the house, you don't have it together, and all of this shit. So this guy's probably thinking like, yeah, it's so easy. All I need to do is plant my seed and then I can fuck off and get on with my own life and go and hide in my man cave when you're having your little troubles and blah, blah, blah. And this is just really what riled me up. But that is not even all. My advice request comes into play here. My wife has not been the same since he was born. She cries more than he does, doesn't seem to want to hold him, and refuses to let him nurse from her. He's on formula we can barely afford, even though she has the ability to nurse him. She used to be fun, bubbly, joking. Now it's like she's a completely different person. No fucking shit, Sherlock. Yesterday I came home from work to them both crying and screaming, and my wife said, "Get him out of my house," referring to our son. I didn't know what to do, so I took him to my parents' house and came back home. And my wife is still in the same spot, crying, telling me her life is ruined and that she has thoughts of running away. I have no idea what to do here. I feel my wife has a duty to our son to nurse him and love him, yet she is trying to abandon him. Shall I call CPS to talk to her about what she's doing? A hospital for her? What can I do about this? Is splitting up and me taking our son the best route? How else do I get him out of the house? This part, oh my God. Right, so not only is this deeply worrying and deeply sad, both for the child involved and for the mother, who feels like her entire life has been ruined because she's probably having a massive told you so moment in her own head and feels so alone and feels so trapped because here she is with a child that she knew deep down she never wanted. But in order to get people off her back from constantly pestering her, aka this douchebag that she married, she went and had one just to please him. And he's turning around and has the fucking cheek to say, I feel my wife has a duty to our son to nurse and love him. With all due respect, you have a duty to keep your business out of other people's ovaries. That's what you need to do. So out of this whole thing, what got me the most is when I had to read this a few times because the audacity of this person, I was like, out of this whole thing, you have not once taken responsibility for the fact that you kind of pushed her into motherhood. I mean, yes, ultimately it was her choice as well. However, you did a lot of the pushing and a lot of the manipulating and God knows what other mind games that you played with your wife to get her to have this child for you, because you probably wanted to continue your legacy. And you have the cheek to turn around to your wife and say it's her duty to nurse him. What is your role in all of this? I mean, it takes two to tango, right? So you're talking about having to call CPS on your wife and maybe call a hospital and something. Has it ever occurred to you that maybe the situation she's in is because of your like bullying, your like mental bullying that you probably did, and probably made this poor woman feel so guilty about her choices that she felt she had no other option than to keep her husband happy and be like, oh, do you know what? Let's go for it. Let's have this kid. I would love to actually see a follow-up of this from the husband. I'm probably never going to see this, and I don't think it would ever happen. I'd love to see a follow-up of the actual words that this husband used on his wife to try and convince her to have children. And this just goes to show also that a lot of men still can't comprehend that when a woman says no, it means no. That's it. That's it. We're not playing hard to get. We're not attention seeking. We're not waiting for you to beg. No means fucking no. What part of no do you not understand? I've said this in so many videos before. No is a complete fucking sentence. This woman told you before she met you and while you were dating, before you were even married, this is something I don't want. I've never wanted it. She clearly never had the instincts. She never had that motherly, maternal pull or whatever it was. So why are you now digging your oar in? So now we have two lives that are fucked up. Well, three if you count the guy, but he kind of put himself in that situation. But you know, you now have a child in the middle of this, and you now have a wife who probably hates your fucking guts, literally. And God knows how she's feeling in this whole thing. Like, whatever happened, whatever happened, I just hope they're all okay. But now, a lot of people are gonna read this and probably think, oh, well, it's her fault. She should have just stuck to her guns. And I'm pretty sure she did, because it sounds like actually from the article that she actually did put up a bit of a fight in the beginning. Not a fight, but, you know, she stood her ground and was like, even when she agreed to have the child, she was like, I'm still gonna get my tubes removed afterwards. And so she was still pretty sure. And this guy seemed to think it was still a good idea. I mean, like, come on, please, can we just... Anyway, if anyone has found the article, please let me know down below. And make sure you give this video a massive thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.